And this comes from Neil, and he says central planning never works. How is China different?
So this is one I get a lot. Um, so, there's many possible ways to answer that question. Um, the first is that, and I think, Kuppy, this is a point you make yourself many times, is that if you go from a really shitty situation to a situation that's just, moderately shitty, just in that there's a lot of growth and there's a lot of profits to be made. Now, when you look at China, this question of central planning, um, if you go back to the 1960s and 70s, China had a madman at the helm, a guy who was a complete control freak to the point where, the guy not only decided where capital should go and he downright decided what you should wear as clothes. And everybody had to walk around in mouse suits. And, Deng Xiaoping comes in and says, you know what, we're this huge country, we're a fifth of the global population, but we have absolutely no power in the world because we're an economic backwater. And so Deng Xiaoping says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to deregulate the labor markets. And he does. And that gives you China's first big wave of growth. And it gives you China's first millionaires. The first millionaires were the guys who came in and said, okay, they're deregulating the labor markets. I'm going to build a toy factory. I'm going to build a shoe factory or textile factory. I'm going to exploit these Chinese workers. And as they did, they made lots of money. That was the first wave. And then China slows down and they come to the next thing, which is, okay, we're going to try to deregulate the real estate markets. And so they do that, and China absolutely booms. Then you get to the mid 2000s, and they say we're going to deregulate the raw material industry, and you start to see private mines for coal and private mines for copper and all these things. Energy they always keep aside a little bit because that's very, very sensitive, and they consider that national strategic imperatives. But aside from energy, we're going to deregulate most of the extractive industries. So having deregulated labor, having deregulated land, having deregulated commodities, you now get to the final frontier, which is deregulating the world of capital. And that's where I think China, for the past 10 years has been stumbling. There's been a lot of 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. Partly because deregulating capital, I think they tried deregulating capital. They went very aggressive in 2008, 2009, and it unleashed colossal corruption. It unleashed like guys giving themselves massive loans. And before you knew it, you had, sons of mayors wrapping their Ferraris around trees with ladies of the night naked in
Oh,
the
that's a
front
great
seat.
tradition.
You're a fan?
Even
the
Puerto Rico.
So they felt like, okay, we got to dial it back. And since then, you've had this back and forth on the deregulating of capital. But the problem with China is very often it's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. That's what it's felt like to a lot of people lately. But I wouldn't call this, centrally planned. The reality is, China in the 1960s was all centrally planned, and that was an absolute disaster.